The dust turned to mud beneath her feet, mixing with the blood that had dried days ago on her tattered dress. And when Lily Mee Mercer stumbled into Nebraska City in the autumn of 1878, the townspeople recoiled as if death itself had come walking through their clean streets. She had survived 6 days in the wilderness after the Comanche raid that killed everyone else in her wagon train. 6 days of drinking from muddy streams, eating whatever roots she could dig up with her bare hands, hiding in hollows when she heard riders approaching. Her blonde hair hung in matted tangles down her back, and her once blue dress was now brown with dirt and darker stains. The cut on her arm where she had fallen against a rock had begun to fester, giving off an odor that made people turn away. But it was her eyes that truly disturbed them, those pale blue eyes that had seen too much and survived when decent folk would have simply laid down and died. The first woman who saw her crossing Main Street grabbed her child and hurried inside the general store, slamming the door behind her. A man in a fine suit crossed to the other side of the street, holding a handkerchief to his nose. Lily kept walking, her bare feet leaving bloody prints on the wooden planks of the boardwalk. She needed water. She needed food. She needed help. "Get away from here," a shopkeeper shouted when she tried to enter his establishment. "We do not need your kind bringing disease and trouble to our town." "Please," Lily whispered, her voice hoarse from days without speaking. "I just need water. There is a well at the edge of town." "Use that and keep moving." The man's face was hard, disgusted. "Filthy creature, you should have died with the rest of them." The words hit harder than any physical blow. Lily stumbled backward, nearly falling, and caught herself against a wooden post. The world spun around her, and she realized she might actually collapse right there in the street. Part of her wondered if that would be better, if maybe everyone would be happier if she just stopped trying to survive. "Hey now, that is enough." The voice was deep, firm, and carried the kind of authority that made people pay attention. Lily looked up through the haze of her exhaustion and saw a man stepping down from a black horse. He was tall, well over 6 feet, with dark hair that curled slightly at his collar and eyes the color of whiskey in sunlight. He wore a dusty brown coat over a dark shirt, and there were spurs on his boots that jingled as he walked. His face was weathered from sun and wind, with lines around his eyes that suggested he smiled often, though he was not smiling now. "This does not concern you, Owen," the shopkeeper said, but there was less certainty in his voice now. "Owen Dalton," the cowboy said, extending his hand to Lily without a moment's hesitation, without flinching at her appearance or the smell that clung to her. "And it seems to me that when a lady needs help in my town, it very much concerns me." "Lady," the shopkeeper actually laughed. "Look at her, Owen. She is filthy. God knows what she did to survive out there. Good Christian women would have perished before lowering themselves to such a state." Owen turned slowly to face the shopkeeper, and something in his expression made the other man take a step back. "Then I suppose I will be filthy too," he said quietly. Without another word, he shrugged off his coat and draped it around Lily's shoulders. The fabric was warm from his body heat and smelled like leather and sage. "Can you walk a bit further, miss?" Lily nodded, not trusting her voice. Owen took her elbow gently, supporting most of her weight, though he made it look casual, and guided her down the street. She could feel the eyes of the town on them, could hear the whispers starting up like a swarm of angry bees. But Owen seemed utterly unbothered, his stride steady and purposeful. "I have a room at the boarding house," he explained as they walked. "The landlady, Mrs. Henderson, is a good woman. She will help get you cleaned up and tended to. Then we can figure out what happened and where you need to go." "I do not have anywhere," Lily said softly. "They are all dead. The whole wagon train. My parents, my brother, the other families, everyone." Owen's jaw tightened, but his grip on her elbow remained gentle. "I am sorry. Truly I am, but you are alive, and that is what matters right now, one step at a time." The boarding house was a two-story building painted white with green shutters. Owen helped Lily up the steps and through the front door, where a plump woman with gray hair looked up from her knitting. Her expression went from welcoming to shocked in an instant. "Owen Dalton. What on earth, Mrs. Henderson? This young lady needs our help. She survived a Comanche raid on her wagon train and has been wandering for days. She needs a bath, medical attention, food, and a safe place to rest. I will pay for everything. Mrs. Henderson set down her knitting and stood, her initial shock giving way to something softer. She approached Lily slowly, the way one might approach a frightened animal, and looked into her face. "You poor child. Come with me. We will get you sorted out." "I am putting her in my room," Owen said. "I will bunk in the stable." "You will do no such thing," Mrs. Henderson said firmly. "She can have the room next to yours. It is currently empty." She turned to Lily. "Can you manage the stairs, dear?" Lily nodded, though in truth she was not certain, but with Owen on one side and Mrs. Henderson on the other, she made it up to the second floor and into a small, clean room with a bed covered in a faded quilt. Sunlight streamed through lace curtains, and Lily wanted to weep at the simple beauty of it. "I will heat water for a bath," Mrs. Henderson said. "Owen, fetch Dr. Brennan. Tell him it is urgent but not life-threatening, and stop by the dress shop and get some appropriate clothing. Tell Martha to put it on my account." Owen tipped his hat. "Yes, madam." He looked at Lily one more time, his golden brown eyes kind. "You are safe now, I give you my word." After he left, Mrs. Henderson helped Lily sit on the edge of the bed. "Let me see that arm, dear." She examined the infected cut with a practiced eye. "This will need proper cleaning, but it is not as bad as it could be. You did well to survive out there." "That is not what everyone else thinks," Lily whispered. Mrs. Henderson made a disapproving sound. "People fear what they do not understand. They live their comfortable lives in their comfortable homes and cannot fathom what real survival requires. Pay them no mind." She patted Lily's hand. "Now, let us get you into that bath." The process of bathing was painful and humiliating and wonderful all at once. The hot water stung every cut and scrape on Lily's body, and Mrs. Henderson had to help her wash her hair 3 times before the water ran clear. But slowly, the layers of dirt and blood washed away, revealing skin that was scratched and bruised but clean. By the time Dr. Brennan arrived, Lily was wrapped in a borrowed robe, sitting by the window with her hair drying in the afternoon sun. The doctor was an older man with gentle hands and a no-nonsense manner. He cleaned and bandaged her wounds, gave her a tonic for the infection, and declared that with rest and proper food, she would make a full recovery. "You are remarkably fortunate," he said. "Another day or two out there, and the infection would have spread too far for me to help." Owen returned with packages from the dress shop, which he handed to Mrs. Henderson without attempting to enter Lily's room. "Martha sent extra," he called through the door. "Said every woman needs proper underthings and night clothes." Mrs. Henderson helped Lily dress in a simple day dress of soft green cotton that brought out the color in her eyes. There were stockings and proper boots, petticoats, and a shawl. When Lily finally looked at herself in the small mirror above the washstand, she barely recognized the woman staring back. She looked thin and haunted but clean. Human again. "Come downstairs when you are ready," Mrs. Henderson said. "I have stew on the stove and you need food in your belly." Lily descended the stairs slowly, still weak but feeling more like herself with each step. The dining room was empty except for Owen, who stood when she entered. His eyes widened slightly, and something flickered across his face too quickly for her to identify. "You look much recovered," he said. "Please sit. Mrs. Henderson makes the best stew in 3 counties." They sat across from each other at the long table, and Mrs. Henderson brought out bowls of thick beef stew with vegetables and fresh bread still warm from the oven. Lily ate slowly at first, then faster as her stomach remembered what real food tasted like. Owen ate as well, but she noticed he kept glancing at her, as if making sure she was truly real and not about to disappear. "Thank you," Lily said finally, "for everything. I do not know what would have happened if you had not helped me." "You do not need to thank me for basic human decency," Owen said, "though I am sorry such decency seems to be in short supply around here." He broke off a piece of bread. "If you feel up to it, can you tell me what happened? The more I know, the better I can help." Lily set down her spoon, her appetite suddenly gone. "We left Independence, Missouri in late April, 15 wagons, about 40 people total. My parents wanted to start fresh in Oregon. They had heard there was good farmland out there." She swallowed hard. "We made it through Kansas without much trouble. Some hard weather, one wagon lost a wheel, but nothing we could not handle. Then we crossed into Nebraska." Owen nodded, his expression serious. "Where exactly did it happen?" "3 days south of here, near a place called Willow Creek. We stopped to water the animals and rest for the night. The attack came at dawn." Lily's hands began to shake, and she clasped them together in her lap. "They came out of nowhere, screaming. The men tried to fight back, but there were too many. My father pushed me into our wagon and told me to hide under the false bottom he had built for storage. I heard everything. The gunshots, the screaming, my mother calling my name." She could not continue. Owen reached across the table and placed his hand over both of hers, his touch warm and solid and real. "You do not have to tell me more right now." "I stayed hidden until everything went quiet," Lily continued, needing to finish now that she had started. "When I finally came out, it was dark. The wagons were burned, the animals were gone, and everyone was dead. I took what supplies I could carry and started walking north. I knew Nebraska City was in this direction from the maps my father had studied. I just kept walking." 6 days, Owen said softly. "That is remarkable." "That is what they call filthy," Lily corrected bitterly. "Because I did what I had to do to survive. I drank water that was probably not safe. I ate things I would never have touched before. I hid in the mud when I heard riders. I am alive, and apparently that makes me shameful." "No," Owen said firmly, his hand tightening over hers. "It makes you strong. It makes you a survivor. Anyone who says otherwise is a fool." Lily looked up at him, really looked at him for the first time. His face was earnest, open, without a trace of disgust or judgment. "Why are you helping me?" "You do not know me." "Because it is the right thing to do," Owen said simply. "And because I know what it is like to be judged for surviving when you were supposed to die." Before Lily could ask what he meant, Mrs. Henderson bustled in with pie and coffee. "Now then, we need to discuss arrangements. Lily, you will stay here as long as you need to recover. Owen has already paid for a month's room and board." "A month? I cannot let you do that." "It is already done," Owen said. "Besides, you will need time to figure out your next steps." "Do you have family elsewhere? People who should be notified that you survived?" Lily shook her head. "My parents left everything behind to make this journey. There is no one waiting for us in Missouri and no one expecting us in Oregon." "Then you will stay here until you are well, Mrs. Henderson said firmly. "And we will figure out the rest as we go." Over the next week, Lily slowly regained her strength. Mrs. Henderson fed her regular meals. Dr. Brennan checked on her infection, and Owen visited every day, always respectful, always kind. He told her about himself in bits and pieces. He was 26 years old, had been working as a cowboy since he was 15, and had recently taken a job at the largest ranch outside Nebraska City. He had grown up in Texas, lost his own parents to fever when he was young, and been raised by his uncle who worked cattle drives. "That is where I learned what it means to survive," he told her one afternoon as they sat on the porch of the boarding house. "My first drive, I was barely 16. We lost 2 men to a stampede, one to a snake bite, and nearly lost the whole herd crossing a swollen river. I got trampled by a steer and broke 3 ribs. The trail boss wanted to leave me at the next town, said I was more trouble than I was worth. But my uncle threatened to quit and they needed him too badly. So I learned to work through the pain to keep going no matter what. That must have been terrifying, Lily said. It was. But it taught me that surviving is not shameful. It is necessary. The world is hard, and the only real failure is giving up. He looked at her with those warm eyes. You did not give up, Lily. That is something to be proud of. The words settled into her heart like a balm over raw wounds. For the first time since stumbling into town, Lily felt something other than shame about her survival. She felt a flicker of pride, of determination to prove that she had not endured all that suffering for nothing. But the town was not as quick to forgive. When Lily finally felt strong enough to walk to the general store, women whispered behind their hands and men looked through her, as if she were invisible. The shopkeeper sold her what she needed but handled her money with obvious distaste, as if it too were contaminated. Filthy thing, she heard someone mutter as she left. Should have stayed wherever she came from. Lily held her head high and walked back to the boarding house, but the words stung. She was clean now, properly dressed and recovering well. But in their eyes, she would always be that creature who had stumbled into town covered in filth, who had done shameful things to survive. Owen found her sitting on her bed that evening, staring at nothing. He knocked on the open door, and when she looked up, he could see the tears she was trying to hide. What happened? Nothing. Everything. I cannot live like this, Owen. I cannot stay in a town where everyone thinks I am dirty, shameful, where mothers pull their children away when I walk past. Owen stepped into the room, leaving the door open for propriety's sake, and sat in the chair by the window. Then do not stay. Lily looked at him in surprise. What? Nebraska City is not the whole world. There are other towns, other places where people do not know your story and would not judge you even if they did. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. I have been thinking about this. The ranch where I work is always looking for help. The owner's wife runs the household, and she needs someone to help with cooking, cleaning, caring for her children. It is hard work, but the pay is fair, and the Jacobsons are good people. They would not judge you. You want me to be a servant. I want you to have a safe place to work and live while you figure out what you want from your life. And Lily, there is no shame in honest work. I have mucked stalls, branded cattle, and cooked beans over a campfire for men who barely thanked me. Work is work. Lily considered this. The idea of leaving the town that had treated her so poorly appealed to her greatly. And the thought of being near Owen, of seeing him regularly, made her heart beat a little faster in a way that had nothing to do with fear or survival. When can I meet them? Owen's face broke into a smile, the first genuine smile she had seen from him, and it transformed his whole face into something bright and boyish. Tomorrow, if you feel up to the ride. It is about 5 miles west of town. The next morning dawned clear and cool, the late October air carrying the scent of dried grass and distant rain. Owen arrived with a gentle mare for Lily to ride and his own black gelding. Lily had not been on a horse since the attack, and for a moment, fear froze her in place. We can take a wagon if you prefer, Owen said quietly, reading her hesitation. No, I need to do this. Lily approached the mare slowly, running her hand down the horse's neck. The animal was calm, patient, and gradually Lily's fear eased. With Owen's help, she mounted, and they set off west along a well-worn road. The prairie stretched out around them, golden grass rippling in the breeze like an ocean. The sky was impossibly blue, dotted with high clouds. It should have been peaceful, but Lily found herself constantly scanning the horizon, her body tense with anticipation of danger. Tell me about the Jacobsons, she said, trying to distract herself. William Jacobson came out here 15 years ago with nothing but a horse and a lot of determination. He built his ranch from the ground up, and now he runs about 500 head of cattle. His wife, Catherine, is from Boston originally. She came west to teach school and met William at a church social. They have 3 children. Emma is 8, Sarah is 5, and the baby, Thomas, just turned 1. And they need help. Catherine has been running herself ragged trying to manage the household and care for the children while also keeping the ranch accounts and everything else. William asked me if I knew anyone trustworthy who might be interested in the position. I told him I might. Owen glanced at her. I am vouching for you, Lily. Please understand what that means. If you prove unreliable or dishonest, it reflects on me. I understand, and I promise I will work hard. I am not afraid of difficult tasks. I know you are not. His voice was soft, almost tender. That is why I suggested you. The Jacobson Ranch appeared on the horizon gradually, growing from a distant collection of buildings into a proper homestead. There was a large 2-story house with a wraparound porch, a barn that looked newly painted, a stable, a chicken coop, and several smaller outbuildings. Cattle grazed in distant pastures, and Lily could see several men working near the barn. Catherine Jacobson met them on the porch, wiping her hands on her apron. She was a pretty woman in her early 30s with dark hair pulled back in a practical bun and sharp, intelligent eyes. A little girl clung to her skirts, peering out at the visitors with curiosity. Owen, good to see you, Catherine said warmly. Then she turned to Lily with an assessing but not unkind gaze. And you must be Miss Mercer. Owen told us about your situation. Please come inside. The house was warm and welcoming, filled with the smells of baking bread and coffee. Children's toys were scattered across the floor, and books lined shelves in the parlor. Catherine led them to the kitchen, where she poured coffee and set out fresh cookies. I will be direct, Miss Mercer, because I do not have time for dancing around subjects. I need help. My children need supervision. My house needs maintaining, and I am drowning in laundry and cooking and account books. Owen says you are hardworking and trustworthy. Are you? Yes, madam. I grew up on a farm in Missouri. I know how to cook, clean, sew, and tend to children. I'm not afraid of hard work, and I learn quickly. Catherine studied her for a long moment. I heard about what happened to you, about the wagon train. I am sorry for your loss. Thank you. I also heard how some of the people in town treated you. I want you to know that such attitudes have no place on this ranch. We judge people by their character and their actions, not by circumstances beyond their control. If you come work for us, you will be treated with respect, and I expect the same in return. Relief flooded through Lily so powerfully she nearly wept. Yes, madam, I appreciate that more than you know. Good. The position includes room and board in a small cabin behind the main house, plus $15 a month. You would work 6 days a week, with Sundays off. Your duties would include helping with cooking and cleaning, supervising the children when I need to work on accounts or other matters, and general household management. Does that sound acceptable? More than acceptable. Thank you, Mrs. Jacobson. Catherine, please. We do not stand on ceremony out here. She smiled, and it was genuine. When can you start? Whenever you need me. How about tomorrow? That gives you time to collect your things from town and settle in. They shook hands, and Lily felt as if a massive weight had been lifted from her shoulders. She had a job, a place to live, and people who did not look at her with disgust or pity. As she and Owen rode back toward Nebraska City, she felt something she had not felt in weeks. Hope. Thank you, she said to Owen, for everything. For saving me, for believing in me, for giving me this chance. You are giving yourself this chance, Owen corrected. I just opened a door. You are the one choosing to walk through it. They rode in comfortable silence for a while, and Lily found herself studying Owen's profile. The strong line of his jaw, the way the sunlight caught in his dark hair, the easy grace with which he sat his horse. He was handsome, certainly, but it was more than that. He was kind in a world that seemed to have little use for kindness. He was strong without being cruel. And when he looked at her, she did not see judgment or pity. She saw respect. "Owen," she said suddenly, "why did you say you understood what it was like to be judged for surviving?" He was quiet for so long that Lily thought he might not answer. Then he spoke, his voice low. "When I was 18, I was on a cattle drive that got hit by Comancheros, Mexican bandits who raided across the border. They killed most of the crew and scattered the herd. 3 of us survived by hiding in a dry wash while the others fought and died. When we made it back to Texas, people called us cowards, said we should have died fighting like men instead of hiding like children. One man's father actually challenged my uncle to a duel over it. That is horrible." It was. But it taught me that people need someone to blame when bad things happen, and if they cannot blame the actual villains, they will blame the victims for not dying properly. He looked at her. "So when I saw you in that street, I knew exactly what you were facing. And I decided right then that I would not let them break you the way those accusations nearly broke me." "Did they break you?" "Almost. I thought about leaving, changing my name, pretending to be someone else. But my uncle told me that running away from other people's ignorance would not make me free. The only way to be free was to hold my head high and live my life according to my own conscience, not their expectations." He smiled slightly. "Sounds simple, but it is the hardest thing I have ever done." "You are a remarkable man, Owen Dalton. I am just a cowboy who tries to do right when he can." But he looked pleased by her words. Lily moved into the cabin behind the Jacobson house the next day. It was small but well built, with a wood stove, a bed, a table, and a rocking chair by the window. Catherine had put fresh linens on the bed and stocked the cupboard with basic supplies. Lily unpacked her few possessions, feeling a sense of belonging she had not experienced since before the wagon train left Missouri. Her days fell into a rhythm. She woke early to help Catherine prepare breakfast for the family and the ranch hands. Then she supervised the children while Catherine worked on the account books or dealt with ranch business. She prepared lunch, cleaned the house, did laundry, mended clothes, and helped prepare dinner. The work was hard, but it was honest work, and Lily found satisfaction in doing it well. Emma and Sarah warmed to her quickly, especially when Lily told them stories about growing up on a farm and taught them songs her mother had taught her. Baby Thomas was a sunny-natured child who laughed easily and was content to sit on Lily's hip while she worked. Owen came by the ranch frequently, as his job involved checking on the cattle and coordinating with the other ranch hands. He always found reasons to stop by the main house, and Lily noticed that his visits seemed to coincide with times when she might be outside hanging laundry or in the kitchen baking bread. They talked about everything and nothing. He told her about his work, about the ornery cattle and the challenges of managing such a large herd. She told him about the children, about Catherine's kindness, about how she was starting to feel like herself again. And gradually, those conversations became the parts of her day she looked forward to most. One evening in mid-November, as the weather was turning cold and the first hints of winter touched the air, Owen asked if she would like to take a walk after dinner. They strolled toward the creek that ran through the Jacobson property, their breath forming clouds in the chilly air. "You have been here almost a month," Owen said. "Are you happy?" "I am. The Jacobsons are wonderful and the work gives me purpose. I feel useful again." Lily paused. "Though I still think about them. My family, the others on the wagon train. I wonder if I will ever stop seeing their faces when I close my eyes." "Probably not," Owen said honestly, "but it will hurt less with time. The memories will always be there, but they will not always be so sharp." They reached the creek, which burbled softly over smooth stones. The setting sun painted the sky in shades of orange and pink, and the air smelled like coming snow. "Lily," Owen said, and something in his tone made her turn to face him fully. "I need to tell you something, and I hope it will not make things awkward between us." Her heart began to beat faster. "What is it?" I care about you. More than I probably should, given we have only known each other a short time. But from the moment I saw you in that street, something in me recognized something in you. You are strong and brave and kind despite everything you have been through. And I find myself thinking about you constantly, looking for excuses to see you, hoping that maybe you might feel even a fraction of what I feel. He took a breath. I am not asking for anything. I just needed you to know. Lily stared at him, her mind racing. She thought about the past month, about all the small moments that had added up to something significant. The way her heart lifted when she saw him riding toward the house. The way his smile made her feel warm even on cold days. The way she had started imagining a future that included him. Owen, she said softly, I feel the same way. His eyes widened. You do? Yes. I have been afraid to admit it even to myself. I thought maybe it was just gratitude or the fact that you saved me when I needed saving. But it is more than that. When I am with you, I feel safe and seen. And valued. I have not felt that way in so long. Owen reached out and gently took her hand, his calloused fingers intertwining with hers. Then may I court you properly, with the intention of building something real between us. I would like that very much. He smiled then, that bright boyish smile that transformed his whole face, and Lily felt as if the sun had come out just for them. They stood there by the creek, holding hands as the sky darkened and the first stars appeared overhead, and Lily thought that maybe, just maybe, surviving had been worth it after all. Their courtship was proper but passionate in its own way. Owen visited the ranch every day, often bringing small gifts. Wildflowers that still bloomed in sheltered spots, a ribbon for her hair from the general store, a book of poetry he thought she might enjoy. They took walks in the evening when Lily's work was done, talking about their dreams and fears, their pasts and potential futures. William and Catherine watched their growing relationship with approval. Owen is a good man, Catherine told Lily one afternoon while they were preparing dough for bread. He works hard, he is honest, and he treats people with respect. You could do much worse. I know, Lily said, kneading the dough with steady hands, but I worry sometimes. What if he realizes I am too damaged? What if the things I went through have broken something essential in me? Catherine put down her rolling pin and looked at Lily directly. Listen to me. Surviving trauma does not make you broken. It makes you human. We all carry scars, Lily. Some are just more visible than others. Owen sees you for who you are, scars and all, and he cares for you anyway. That is what matters. As winter settled over Nebraska, the ranch work changed but never stopped. Lily helped Catherine preserve food, sewed warmer clothes for the children, and learned how to manage the household accounts when Catherine was ill with a winter cold. Owen and the other ranch hands worked to ensure the cattle had enough feed and that the buildings were secure against the harsh weather. On Christmas Day, Owen gave Lily a small package wrapped in brown paper. Inside was a delicate silver locket on a chain. I know you lost everything from your old life, he said quietly. I thought maybe you could put something new in here, a reminder that you have a future, not just a past. Lily's eyes filled with tears as she fastened the locket around her neck. It is beautiful, thank you. She had a gift for him as well, a pair of leather gloves she had sewn herself, lined with soft wool. For those cold mornings checking on the cattle. Owen pulled her into a gentle embrace, right there in the Jacobson parlor with the whole family watching. You are the best gift I could have asked for, he whispered against her hair. All right, you too, William said with a laugh. Save some romance for when you are actually married. Owen pulled back, his face serious. About that. He turned to William and Catherine. With your permission, I would like to ask Lily to marry me. Catherine clapped her hands together with delight, but William held up a hand. Owen, you know I think highly of you, but I need to know your intentions are serious. Lily has been through enough. I will not see her hurt again. Sir, I have never been more serious about anything in my life. I love her. I want to build a life with her to protect her and provide for her and be the kind of husband she deserves." William looked at Lily. "And what do you say to all this?" "I say yes," Lily answered without hesitation. "If Owen is actually asking me and not just talking about asking me." Owen laughed and dropped to one knee right there on the parlor floor. "Lily Mee Mercer, will you marry me?" "Yes, Owen. Yes, I will." The children cheered. Catherine wiped away happy tears, and William shook Owen's hand with genuine warmth. They decided to marry in early spring, which gave them time to prepare and save money for a small place of their own. The months between Christmas and their wedding in April flew by in a flurry of preparations. Lily sewed her own wedding dress with Catherine's help, a simple but elegant gown of ivory cotton with delicate lace at the collar and cuffs. Owen worked extra hours to save money, and William helped him find a small piece of land about 2 miles from the main ranch where they could build a house. But not everything was perfect. In late February, Lily and Owen rode into Nebraska City to purchase supplies for the wedding, and they encountered some of the same people who had been so cruel to Lily when she first arrived. The shopkeeper's wife saw them enter the general store and immediately began whispering to her companions. "Look at that," the woman said, not bothering to lower her voice much. "The filthy girl has caught herself a cowboy. I wonder what she did to trap him." Owen's jaw tightened, but before he could respond, Lily squeezed his hand. "Let it go," she said quietly. "Their opinions do not matter." But the shopkeeper's wife was not finished. "You should be ashamed of yourself, Owen Dalton. A decent man would know better than to marry something that crawled out of the wilderness like an animal. God knows what diseases she carries." Owen turned slowly, and his voice when he spoke was cold as winter ice. "Mrs. Patterson, I am going to say this once, and I suggest you listen carefully. Lily Mercer is twice the woman you will ever be. She survived horrors you cannot imagine with grace and courage that should inspire anyone with half a brain. If her ability to endure makes her filthy in your eyes, then I am proud to be filthy too. In fact, I would rather be covered in actual dirt standing beside her than be clean standing beside narrow-minded, cruel people like you." The shop went silent. Mrs. Patterson's face turned red with anger and embarrassment. "Well, no, I expect you never have," Owen interrupted. "And that is the problem. You have never faced real hardship, never had to fight for your survival, never had to make impossible choices. So you judge those who have from the comfort of your safe, easy life. That makes you not just ignorant but pathetic." He turned to the shopkeeper. "We came to purchase supplies, but I find I would rather give my business to someone who does not employ malicious gossips. Good day." They walked out of the store with their heads high, and Lily felt something fierce and warm burning in her chest. Not anger exactly, but pride. Pride in Owen for defending her, pride in herself for surviving, pride in both of them for refusing to be shamed by people who did not matter. "Thank you," she said when they reached their horses. "You do not need to thank me for speaking the truth." Owen helped her mount, then swung up onto his own horse. "Though I probably should have been more diplomatic. No, you were perfect." They purchased what they needed from a different shop, where the owner was more interested in making sales than in gossip, and rode back to the ranch feeling closer than ever. Their wedding day dawned clear and beautiful, the prairie coming alive with spring wildflowers. The ceremony was held at the small church on the edge of Nebraska City, with the Jacobson family in attendance along with several of the ranch hands and a few friends Owen had made over the years. The preacher was a young man who had only recently arrived in town and did not know or care about Lily's history. He spoke about love and commitment, about building a life together through good times and bad. When Owen slipped a simple gold band onto Lily's finger and promised to love her for the rest of his life, she felt something inside her finally settle and heal. She was no longer the filthy girl who had stumbled into town, barely alive. She was Lily Dalton, beloved wife of a good man, starting a new chapter of her life. The reception was held at the Jacobson Ranch, with tables set up in the yard and food enough to feed everyone twice over. There was dancing and laughter and joy, and for hours Lily forgot about everything except the feeling of Owen's arms around her as they swayed to fiddle music under the spring stars. "Are you happy?" Owen asked as they danced. "Happier than I ever thought I would be again," Lily answered honestly. "You saved my life, Owen, in more ways than one." "No," he said firmly. "You saved your own life. I just had the incredible good fortune to be there when you needed a friend." That night, they went to the small house Owen had been building with help from William and the other ranch hands. It was not much yet, just 2 rooms and a loft, but it was theirs. Owen carried Lily over the threshold, and they began their married life together in a bed covered with a quilt Catherine had made as a wedding gift. The next months were full of hard work and harder joys. They finished building their house, adding a proper kitchen and a second bedroom. Lily planted a garden and learned to manage chickens and a milk cow. Owen continued working at the Jacobson Ranch, but also started building their own small herd with cattle William sold him at a fair price. They faced challenges. A drought in July damaged Lily's garden and strained the water supply. Owen was injured when a horse threw him, breaking his arm and leaving him unable to work for 6 weeks. They argued sometimes about money, about priorities, about the future. But they always talked through their problems, always remembered that they were on the same side, always chose each other. In October, nearly a year after Lily had stumbled into Nebraska City, she realized she was pregnant. She told Owen one evening as they sat on their small porch watching the sunset. He whooped with joy, picked her up and spun her around, then immediately set her down again, worried he had hurt her or the baby. "Owen, I am pregnant, not made of glass," Lily laughed. I know. But you are carrying my child, our child. That is precious beyond measure." Catherine was thrilled and immediately began knitting tiny clothes. William slapped Owen on the back and said something about Owen working fast. The Jacobson children were excited about the idea of a new baby, and Emma started bringing Lily drawings of what she imagined the baby would look like. The pregnancy was mostly easy, though Lily felt nauseated in the mornings and grew tired easily as the baby grew. Owen treated her like spun glass despite her protests, insisting on doing the heavier chores himself and bringing her breakfast in bed on Sundays. "You do realize women have been having babies since the beginning of time?" Lily teased one morning when Owen refused to let her carry a bucket of water. "Not my wife having my baby," Owen countered. "That is a first, and I intend to make sure both of you come through it healthy." Their son was born on a warm day in late May, delivered by Catherine and the local midwife in the bedroom of their little house. Owen paced outside, driving William nearly mad with his anxious energy. When the baby's cry finally filled the air, Owen burst through the door to find Lily exhausted but smiling, holding a tiny bundle with a shock of dark hair. "It is a boy," she said softly. "A healthy boy." Owen approached the bed as if walking on sacred ground, his eyes fixed on the infant. When he finally held his son for the first time, tears ran unashamedly down his face. "He is perfect. You are both perfect." They named him Nathan James Dalton, Nathan for Owen's late father and James for Lily's father. He was a good baby, quick to smile and slow to fuss, and Owen proved to be a devoted father who changed diapers without complaint and walked the floor at night when Nathan was restless. Lily watched her husband with their son and felt her heart swell with love. This man who had defended her when no one else would, who had seen past her filth and trauma to the person beneath, who had chosen to stand beside her even when it would have been easier to walk away. This man was now the father of her child, and together They were building something beautiful from the ashes of her tragedy. The years passed in the way years do, full of ordinary days that somehow added up to an extraordinary life. They built their house bigger as their family grew, adding two more children, a daughter named Rose Catherine in 1881 and another son, Michael Owen, in 1884. Their small herd of cattle grew into a respectable operation, and Owen's reputation as an honest, hard-working rancher spread throughout the region. Lily never forgot what she had survived, but the sharp edges of those memories dulled with time, just as Owen had promised they would. She thought of her parents and her brother, of the people on the wagon train who had not survived, and she honored their memory by living well, by being happy, by building the kind of life they would have wanted for her. The people of Nebraska City slowly changed their opinions, as Lily became known not as the filthy girl who had survived, but as Owen Dalton's capable wife, as a mother, as a woman who contributed to the community. Some never apologized for their initial cruelty, but others eventually admitted they had been wrong to judge her so harshly. Lily accepted their belated kindness, but never forgot who had stood by her when it mattered most. William and Catherine remained close friends, and their children grew up together, running wild across the prairie on summer days and having snowball fights in winter. Emma Jacobson and Nathan Dalton became particularly good friends, and by the time they were teenagers, it was clear they were falling in love just as their parents had years before. On a warm evening in the summer of 1895, Owen and Lily sat on the porch of their now substantial house, watching the sunset paint the sky in familiar shades of orange and pink. Nathan, now 15, was off helping a neighbor with a barn raising. Rose, 14, was inside reading by lamplight. Michael, 11, was supposed to be doing his chores but was probably down by the creek catching frogs. "You ever think about that day?" Owen asked quietly. "The day you walked into town," sometimes, Lily admitted, "though it feels like a story about someone else now, someone I used to be." "You are still that woman," Owen said. "Still strong, still brave, still a survivor. You have just added to those qualities, not replaced them." Lily took his hand, noting the calluses earned from years of hard work, the scar on his thumb from a barbed wire accident, the silver beginning to thread through his dark hair. They were both older now, marked by time and labor, but the connection between them had only deepened. "I was thinking today," she said, "about what you told that shopkeeper's wife all those years ago, about being proud to be filthy if that was what it took to stand beside me." Owen smiled. "I remember. I was furious. You were magnificent. And I realized that I never properly thanked you for that, for seeing me as a person worth defending, worth loving, worth building a life with. Lily." Owen turned to face her fully, his golden brown eyes serious. "You do not need to thank me for recognizing what was obvious. You were always worth all of that and more. I am the fortunate one. You could have married anyone, and you chose me. I chose you because you chose me first, when no one else would, because you looked at me covered in dirt and blood and saw someone worth saving. Because you have spent every day since then proving that you meant it." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "Because you loved me when I could not love myself." They sat in comfortable silence as the sun dipped below the horizon and the stars began to emerge. In the distance, they could hear Michael calling that he had caught a huge frog and Rose laughing at something in her book. Nathan would be home soon, full of stories about the barn raising and probably extra hungry as always. This was their life. Not perfect, not easy, but theirs. Built on a foundation of mutual respect and stubborn love, grown from the seeds of tragedy into something strong and lasting. Lily Dalton had survived the worst that life could throw at her, and in surviving, she had found something worth living for. A few years later, in the spring of 1898, Nathan and Emma Jacobson announced their engagement, surprising absolutely no one. The wedding was held at the same small church where Lily and Owen had married, now almost 20 years earlier. Lily watched her son pledge his life to Emma and thought about circles, about how life has a way of bringing things back around in unexpected ways. At the reception, William raised his glass in a toast. To Nathan and Emma. May they have a marriage as strong and true as that of Nathan's parents, who taught us all what real love and real courage look like. Everyone raised their glasses, and Lily caught Owen's eye across the crowd. He winked at her, and she smiled, feeling the weight of years and joy settling comfortably in her heart. When everyone else had gone home and the stars were bright overhead, Owen and Lily walked slowly back to their house, their hands intertwined as they had been so many times over the years. "We did well," Owen said. "With Nathan, with all of them, we built a good life." "We did," Lily agreed, "though it almost did not happen. If you had not stopped that day, if you had let them drive me away, but I did stop, and you did survive, and here we are." Owen pulled her close. "Everything else is just details." As they reached their porch, Lily turned to look back at the prairie, at the land they had worked and loved and made their own. Somewhere out there was the place where her first family had died, where her old life had ended. But here, in this place, her new life had taken root and flourished. She thought about the girl she had been, stumbling into town covered in filth and shame, and she wanted to tell that girl that it would be okay. That the people who called her filthy did not understand strength when they saw it. That a cowboy with kind eyes would choose to be filthy too, and that choice would change everything. But that girl was gone, transformed into the woman she was now. A woman who knew her own worth, who had survived and thrived, who had built something beautiful out of unimaginable pain. A woman who was loved and who loved fiercely in return. "Come on," Owen said, guiding her toward the door. "It is late and I want to hold my wife in my own bed." "Your romantic declarations have not improved much over the years," Lily teased. "And yet you still love me." "I do. More than anything." They went inside their home, closing the door on the prairie night, on the past, on everything except each other. And in the morning they would wake up and do it all again, the work, the love, the building of a life together. Because that was what they had chosen, that day so long ago when Owen had said he would be filthy too, and every day since. Rose married a banker from Lincoln when she was 22, giving Lily and Owen 2 grandchildren who visited every summer. Michael became a veterinarian, studying back east before returning to Nebraska to practice. He married late, at 35, to a widow with 3 children of her own, and suddenly Lily and Owen's family expanded exponentially. Nathan and Emma took over the Jacobson Ranch when William retired, merging it with the Dalton land to create one of the largest spreads in the county. They had 4 children of their own, and the house rang with noise and laughter whenever the whole family gathered. Owen's health began to fail when he was 68, his heart weakened by decades of hard work. But he remained sharp and engaged until the end, telling stories to his grandchildren and great-grandchildren, always with Lily at his side. On a cold night in January 1912, with snow falling softly outside and Lily holding his hand, Owen drew his last breath. His final words were, "Thank you for choosing me too." Lily wept, but she did not break. She had learned long ago that she was stronger than she looked, more resilient than anyone expected. She buried her husband on a hill overlooking their ranch, where he could watch over the land they had built together. She lived another 8 years, surrounded by family, tending her garden in summer and knitting by the fire in winter. She told her grandchildren stories about their grandfather, about the day he had defended a filthy girl in the street and changed both their lives forever. She taught them about strength and survival, about kindness and courage, about choosing love even when it seems impossible. When Lily Meade Dalton died peacefully in her sleep in the spring of 1920, she was 82 years old. She was buried beside Owen on that hill, and the whole county came to pay their respects to a woman who had become a legend in her own right. Not for the tragedy she had survived, but for the life she had built afterward. For the family she had raised, the community she had served, the love she had shared, the marker on her grave was simple. Lily Mee Dalton, 1838–1920, beloved wife, mother, and survivor. But if you looked closely, you could see a second inscription, smaller, added by her children. She was never filthy. She was always strong. And on Owen's marker beside hers, an inscription Lily had chosen years earlier when she knew his time was coming. He saw what others could not. And he loved without conditions. The ranch stayed in the family for generations, passed from Nathan to his children to their children. And every young couple who stood on that hill looking out over the prairie heard the story of Owen and Lily, of how love can bloom even in the hardest soil, of how choosing to stand beside someone when everyone else turns away is the bravest and most important choice a person can make. They called her filthy for surviving, but Owen saw the truth. He saw her strength, her courage, her unbreakable spirit, and when he said he would be filthy too, he was not just defending her. He was choosing her. Choosing to build a life together, to face whatever came as partners, to prove that love is stronger than judgment, that kindness is more powerful than cruelty, that survival is nothing to be ashamed of. Their story became the foundation on which generations built their own lives, a reminder that the worst moments do not define us unless we let them, that it is possible to walk through hell and come out the other side still capable of love, still worthy of happiness, still whole. The prairie wind still blows across that hill where they rest together, carrying the scent of sage and wildflowers, whispering stories of courage and love to anyone who stops to listen. And somewhere in that wind is the echo of a promise kept, of a cowboy who chose to be filthy too, and a woman who survived and thrived and loved despite everything the world threw at her. Their great-great-grandchildren still tend that ranch, still work that land, still tell the story of Owen and Lily. They point to the hill where two simple headstones mark graves that hold not just bodies but a legacy, a testament to the power of choosing love over judgment, compassion over cruelty, and hope over despair. And sometimes, when the light hits just right at sunset, you can almost see two figures standing on that hill, hand in hand, watching over the land they loved and the family they built, still together, still strong, still proving that some loves transcend everything, even death itself. The story of Owen and Lily Dalton is not just a story about the Old West, about cowboys and hardship and survival. It is a story about seeing someone truly, loving them completely, and standing by them no matter what the world says. It is about recognizing that surviving is not shameful but noble, that strength comes in many forms, and that the most important thing we can do in this life is choose each other, again and again, through everything. That choice, made on a dusty street in Nebraska City in 1878, echoed through decades and generations, shaping lives not yet born and proving what Owen and Lily always knew. That love, real love, is the most powerful force in the world. More powerful than tragedy, more lasting than pain, more important than anything else. They called her filthy for surviving. The cowboy said, "Then I'll be filthy too." And in those words, in that choice, everything changed. A life was saved. A love was born. A legacy was built that would endure long after both of them were gone, reminding everyone who heard their story that sometimes the greatest act of love is simply choosing to stand beside someone when the rest of the world walks away.